Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host JT, and if this is your first time tuning in, thank you and welcome. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know every time I upload a new video. So excited to have Youngmin here today, and this is going to be such a fun conversation because your life story is amazing. And
I don't know, I'm so inspired by you.
well, my I have to say, my podcast have met some remarkable people and just unbelievable stories, and we all have a story to share, and it's important that we do share it. And you're sharing it through music and so many other ways too, and you're speaking as well. Yeah. And so with that, you know, Youngmin is an accomplished pianist, and he has over 30 million views on some of his videos, and it's so cool to see that. And so thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's been really fun learning about your life story and your passion for music, but take us back and tell us a little bit about your history.
Yes, so my history. Let me give you a short, brief version, because there's a long version and short version, but yeah, I grew up in South Korea. When I was around 6 or 7, so my dad started his own church. And because he just started his own church, we didn't have a lot of money. So what happened was we ended up moving a lot, and like almost every year. At one point, we were living in a 50 square foot house, and it was one room apartment. We didn't even have a bathroom in the house. Now, to give you a perspective, 50 square foot is about like a size of an average American bathroom. So in this room, my parents, my sister, and I, the 4 of us would lay down together, and that will be our bed, a sheet of blanket across the room, and we literally lay down together and sleep together there. So it was a tiny room, and we didn't even have a bathroom in the house. So then I hated going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So I would just wet my bed, you know, kind of like, you know, I can take care of it. I wet my bed. Unfortunately, it was everyone else's bed as well. So then everyone got wet. They did not enjoy that part of my childhood. So when I turned 10, though, we even lost that spot. We ended up moving to my grandmother's house because we were kind of homeless almost. We couldn't afford the rent. And my grandmother, who was actually taking care of my disabled uncle at the time, they took us graciously in. The problem was the house that they were living in was not even much bigger than our previous one. So now we are in this small apartment, 6, 7 of us, and my younger sister was born at that time. So 8 of us just crammed in together living there. And I don't know, man. It's really, really sad, and it can be, it's a personal thing for me. But my uncle, about 1.5 years later, so we lived with him for 1.5 years. When we moved out, we heard an unfortunate tragedy that my uncle had committed suicide. And that was really, really difficult for me because I was living with him. And I saw his agony and struggles daily that he was going through. And I felt like I should have and could have done a better job at helping him and just share the gospel and just help him to get out of that rut. And I felt like I failed as his nephew. That had a huge impact on me. And when I turned 13, I went into middle school, and kind of things went down the hill from there. I got involved with some really violent friends. We moved a lot, so I transferred to many new schools all the time. When I got into this new school, I was bullied big time. And in order for me to not get bullied, I had to join one of the student gang members. So I became one of the gang members. So I joined the group to protect myself, and we were doing some horrible things. A lot of my friends were smokers, heavy drinkers. You know, I remember when I was like 14, 15, I personally didn't smoke, but most of my friends, they would go to a bathroom in the middle of the class and just smoke. And they would be drinking, and
this was middle school.
This is middle school.
Yeah.
And the thing was, this was no kidding. Like, I mean, these kids were involved with some of the mafias. So they were working for the bigger group out there, and they were the younger ones that were doing kind of like dirty jobs for them. But anyways, so I joined them, and it was just horrible experience. I felt extremely violent. I had serious temper issues. You would probably believe it. Hopefully you won't. But yeah.
So this is all in South Korea.
In South Korea, yeah.
And then from there, one of my questions I was going to ask you, what I ask everyone that comes on, is sort of what is their challenge that they faced in their life and their biggest challenge, and we can get to that later too, and you can continue on with telling me more about
absolutely.
this. But
so the biggest challenge. So I felt really sad about my life, and there are times that I just felt really down and depressed. And I wanted some sort of like a change in my life. I felt extremely guilty and frustrated whenever I come back home. I remember just feeling miserable because at church, my dad's a pastor now, you know. Yes. At church, I was a perfect pastor's kid. People were like, oh, Youngmin wouldn't do anything wrong. But at school, I was living the opposite life. I was a totally different person, just miserable and violent. And I'm like praying that something will change. And I did get an incredible opportunity when I was 15 to come to the States to stay and study here for 1 year. I ended up staying a lot longer, as you can see now. But that was the tipping point. My parents, they are extremely loving and gracious. They squeezed everything out financially to make me come to the States to study, allow me to pursue my dreams. So yeah, when I first came here, it was so different, and I thought everything was going to be perfect. Ended up being the opposite. I felt really lonely, losing my culture, language, food, and you know what? I felt really lonely, not because I couldn't talk to anyone.
Did you speak any English when you came to the States?
Not well, tiny bit.
And now you speak perfect English.
No.
You do?
I'm still self-conscious. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I totally mix up my, I don't know, so many things.
Well, but we know you are a quick learner because, as I understand, you learned how to play the piano all on your own, right?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so when I was feeling really down again and feeling homesick in the States because I didn't have friends, I realized there were two things that did not change on me from South Korea in the States. It was God and music for me. They stayed the same. And it was mind-boggling for me. I'm like, God that I knew in Korea was the same God here. That's when I developed my personal relationship with God. That's when I got up in the morning and started saying hi to God and talked to Him. And started my walk with Jesus is what I say. But my host family at the time, I lived with 7 different host families, by the way. But my first host family, they had an upright piano upstairs. So I would sneak up there and play piano, and it made me feel so much better. And all my homesick kind of washed away, and I just felt God's presence through that. So I started playing piano, and it wasn't just making me happy, but I realized it was making everyone else happy too. That's when I realized, ooh, this is maybe my calling. I'm gonna pursue music more seriously, and that's when I felt like God was telling me, my passion and my goal in life is to make God famous through music. So that's when I went all in. That's awesome. Yeah. And just started playing a ton more and pursued it.
And now you have. I mean, look at how many lives you've touched through music from in church, you know, in northern Michigan here, and then all over the country, and all over the world. Now you're impacted all over the world.
Yeah.
And with your music throughout social media, you've been able to expand it so much.
It's so funny because at the time, I didn't have any money to even take lessons, piano lessons, because you know my parents already spent all the money to have me get to the States.
Yeah.
I had still no money. I'm like, if I want to take music seriously and pursue it, I'm going to have a lot of money, because that's what people say. You need to have like people or parents who can back you up financially to take expensive piano lessons or something like that. I had none of that. So what I had was YouTube videos. I went on YouTube, and then I just watched a ton of tutorials, learned it free, until I made it to my dream college, Wheaton College Conservatory. And that's where I studied music composition more professionally. But up until then, I pretty much learned it by myself, and it's all by God's grace that I get to do what I get to do and make impact the way that I get to do. It's all God, 100%.
That is awesome. 100%. It is all God. I mean, It's unbelievable, especially through music, being able to touch lives like that. It's so cool. So what was the first video and song that really impacted your fans and created that growth that you have?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So the first one, before I did Christian music, I did a lot of pop music.
Okay.
And I did like Ed Sheeran's Shape of You or like Despacito, all this like pop music, and those got really good engagement. So like those were hitting like millions of views. One got like 20 million views, and I'm like, this could really do well. I'm getting sponsorships from all these like biggest companies in the world and sheet music companies, and I'm like, this is gonna make good revenue. It's gonna work. But then something wasn't fulfilling me. That's when I really doubled down on Christian music, and I kind of started from the scratch again. So one of the first songs, Christian music, that kind of like went viral per se, or really touched a lot of people, was called Reckless Love by Corey Asbury. And I made a cover. I made a piano cover of the just banging on the keys, giving my all, like trying to showcase like God's love for us, just overwhelming and just so big and unimaginable. And that got picked up by VATER Music. Actually, VATER Music, the basically the songwriters, they shared it, and then it just got picked up and got millions of views. And that one is by far one of the most loved videos. And then after that, we did Oceans by Hillsong United, and that one we shot on a Walloon Lake, like local lake, on a frozen lake, 2 feet of snow out, and then we hauled out a grand piano there. And that video also touched many, many lives. So yeah, those are the two, one of the big.
I've seen both those videos, and it's so cool what you're doing with your YouTube channel and how you're, putting music in such remote, cool areas. And
like this.
But exactly, like today, we had an awesome time today.
Such a fun
But
day.
with that, you have created it to have so much fun atmosphere to it, but also you captured the glory of God, whether that's like today on the water, right?
Yes,
or it's frozen water on Walloon Lake here in northern
We seem
Michigan.
to like water.
We do.
Whether frozen or not.
That's great.
Yeah.
So it is so cool to see what you're doing through your music.
We love showcasing God's beautiful nature. There's nothing more aesthetically pleasing than just being in the nature. Like, He is our artist, He is our creator, and just to showcase the beauty, especially in northern Michigan. There's so many beautiful spots, so we definitely want to showcase that.
I have your new album right here, and can you tell us a little bit about this?
Absolutely.
And what you've reached with this as well.
Yeah, thank you. So this is my first piano worship album. And I used to do a lot of pop music and contemporary classical music, but this is my first Christian music, right? And I came up with this idea of doing because I feel like Christian music world right now is really underserved. I talked to a guy from K-Love, and then they said Christian music industry is slowly just like dying down because we're not creating enough creativity. Like, there's so many great Christian artists out there, but we need some support for them. We need to give them lots of side dishes. They're the main entree, and that's what I am. I'm like the side dish here, trying to come up with some creative Christian instrumental music that people can all enjoy. And what happens is, because it has no lyrics, even a lot of non-Christians, non-believers listen to them, not even knowing it's a Christian music, and they like it for the piano music until they look up the lyrics, and then they're like, oh my goodness, this is Christian music, and then they get into it. So it's really neat. But this just made it to Billboard chart top 10 under classical, which is such a huge blessing for me because I've been praying that Christian instrumental music will hit the mainstream more, and for me to make it into Billboard chart top 10, like close to like Yo-Yo Ma, the famous cellist that I look up to, just to be even like near him is like such a huge blessing and an honor. It just made it to iTunes top 12 in Christian and gospel, which I could have never ever imagined happening possible. And I give God all the glory for that, and also all the friends that made me made it happen. I mean, without our friends' help, this will not be possible.
Congratulations on both of on that album and all your success with it. So,
thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Youngmin, for being here and for participating in this. And I'm so excited for your future and where your music will take you.
Same for you.
Well, thank you. And
so excited for you.
And with that, how can our viewers learn more about you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on pretty much all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and I try to always come up with some encouraging things to share with you guys. So any of those platforms are great to connect with me. In terms of music platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, or Amazon, anywhere that you can imagine my music should be there. So
Thank you so much.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thank you for watching my YouTube channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. We'll see you next time.